All right, guys, we are now live on our Facebook page. Welcome everyone to the Zimbabwe German Society online open week. Because of COVID-19 and travel restrictions, and also trying to safeguard that people are socially distanced and away from people, of course, we've decided to do this event where we can have people come through, people still participate at the Zimbabwe German Society, but of course online. So for today, which is our day 2, we will be having with us today Natasha Moetsabi. We also have Audrey Irwai. Hi, Natasha. And we also have Cleopas. So these are the guys that have been students or are students at the Zimbabwe German Society. So I'll just give Natasha the floor at the moment so that she can just give us a brief introduction of herself, and so we get to know her better. You can go ahead, Natasha.
Thank you. Yes, as mentioned, my name is Natasha Moetsabi, and I took part, or I was at ZGS for some German lessons as I was preparing to go to Germany for the Africa COMPT program. This was, 2019, from about March, April. That was June 2019. It was very lovely experience in the sense that the teachers were good, and it was just that because I was working, I had to go in the evening, but in terms of the facilities provided and the experience itself, that was good. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to also share about my experience in Germany at this time, or it's just like, that's
No, of course not yet. It's just a brief introduction. I actually forgot to introduce myself. A lot of people probably asked me, okay, so who are you? And my name is Tsungi Chipendo. I am the current head of languages here at Zimbabwe German Society. So it's nice to see you here, everyone that's here. I'll take this time to ask Cleopas to just give us a brief introduction of himself. Don't go overboard, just a little bit.
Okay, sure. I'll try and keep it short. Well, I'm Cleopas Mugweni. I'm 19. I enrolled at ZGS in February this year, just before the lockdown. So it's my first time enrolling. I was taking A1. That's about it. There's not much. Otherwise, the fact that I'm planning to go on. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Cleopas. Audrey, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. My name is Audrey, and I just recently started A1, and I'm going into A2. Yeah, that's all.
All right, thank you so much, Audrey, for that. I'm seeing there's also Ruvimbo Mtandwa. Could you just give us a brief introduction of yourself?
My name is Ruvimbo Mtandwa. I'm still a beginner for the course A1.
Yes, and there's also Charmaine. Just a brief introduction, and then we can move, Charmaine, and then we can move on to, Charmaine, could you just give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Okay, I'm Charmaine. I just completed my A1 at 6 years, and I'll be moving on to A2 as well this year. I enrolled in Feb and had to do my course online because of COVID and the pandemic. That's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Charmaine. It's a pleasure meeting you. I hope you're going to continue with your lessons and also try to do A2. I see we also have Sarah who's joined us. Sarah, can you just give us a brief introduction of yourself, what level you are, and yeah. Hello, Sarah. Okay, I don't think Sarah can hear me. Anyway, that's all right. So for everyone else except for our invited guests, could you kindly mute yourself so that we can begin? And I'll just ask Natasha. We'll start with Natasha. We just have a few questions for you so that we can just know more about your experience in Germany and what life was like for you in Germany. So maybe you can start with telling us a little bit more about what Africa COMPT is.
Okay, Africa COMPT is a leadership development program that offers a mutually beneficial opportunity for German industry and leaders from Africa to share experiences and learn from each other. So the program runs for about a year, and applications are now open, I think, not at the moment, but then applications initially were for people from sub-Saharan Africa, but are now open to the whole of Africa. And so, yes, I think they take between, anywhere from 30. We were a cohort of 48 fellows from about 11 different African countries. We were 5 from Zimbabwe for the 2019 intake. Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry, technology. But so kindly tell us what exactly were you doing? Like, how does one person become part of Africa COMPT in terms of, do you have to have certain qualifications if you want to be part of Africa COMPT, or yeah?
Yes, so as I mentioned before, it's about the program is about a year or a year and a half. And so each period, they have a period where applications are open. I think on the website now you can register for the newsletter. And then whenever the applications are open, they'll notify you. And on the application, so the initiative is an initiative of from German industries. So you'll find that how the program works is that you're attached to different German companies according to your profile or the industry that you're in. And so when you apply, you actually look at the profiles that are there to see whether you can apply for any one of those profiles. And then during the program, so as part of the program, you go through a period of language learning and then international business development, and also which includes learning about German culture, and also helps make it easier to integrate into German culture as well. And then for a period of about, I think it's 9 months, you then are attached to a particular company. So I was working with Robert Bosch. So yeah, so okay, so what you do there depends on your actual profile. So to say, which industry are you in? We had a lot of people in the medical profession. I'm particularly from ICT or tech industry. We also had people from sales and the business development industry as well. And it's looking at people with some working experience. So you go there, you also learn from how German companies do business, and they also learn about how we do things back home. from the different African countries. Some of them have interest to invest in Africa, so you can also share your insights about business, how to do business in a particular African country.
All right, thank you so much, Natasha, for that. That was very insightful. And I suppose for all of our guests here who have questions on what can I do, like if I learn the German language, what can I use it for? What opportunities are there for me? This is one of the opportunities you can take into consideration. Africa COMPT is a great platform. A lot of people from Zimbabwe have had experience with Africa COMPT, where sometimes you can even get offered a permanent job. Correct me if I'm wrong, Natasha, but I know for a fact that sometimes if you're really good at this initiative, if you're really focused, if you really have the determination, and if you don't have any need to come back home, you can always be lucky enough or just get that chance so you can work with Africa COMPT in the different organizations that are part of Africa COMPT. Thank you so much for that. So can you just tell us now, we just want to know about your experience about living in the German country. What was it like for you? Did you experience any challenges? Like the first moment you arrived, what was the first challenge that you met on the day that you arrived?
I would say the day I arrived wasn't, I wouldn't say I faced, let me think, I faced too many challenges because as part of the program, the GIZ, the people from GIZ who administer the program help facilitate like our arrival and getting us to our apartments and things like that. But yes, when it came to doing like initial shopping, that was a bit, I would say I wouldn't call it a challenge, but it was a bit of a surprise because being from sub-Saharan Africa, most countries that you travel to have English as a primary or like a secondary language. So even though you don't speak the language, there's a lot of English around, so you can relatively easily get by. So that had been my experience with most of my travel. But getting there, almost everything was in German. So I knew that, I needed to learn German, but then not to that extent. It was like, okay, even the goods in the shops, you're used to like English, there's English somewhere, but there was no English anyway. So you end up just using pictures. At that stage, I had taken some lessons, but obviously I wasn't fluent yet. And I would then also continue to take lessons with the German societies in Germany. But I would say just it was a bit of a surprise to what extent you actually need the language. You need it for everything, basically.
Yeah, that's very true what you're saying. No truer words have been spoken. Germany is a very proud country and its people are proud. So you'd actually be insulting them if you try to speak to them in English. So it is a definite must that if you're traveling to Germany for whatever purpose and for whatever reason, that you know the language, because everything is in German. The road signs, the shops, everything is in German. So if you don't know the language, it will be a little bit of a challenge, especially if you're going to be living in Germany. So that's great. How did you overcome that challenge? You mentioned that you continued to get lessons, German lessons at some language schools that are in Germany.
Yes, so as part of the program, we had some initial language lessons before we left, and then we had also about 3 months of language lessons, language learning when we got there. So by the end of that, I had my A2 certificate. So yeah, that helped with all the basics, pretty much shopping, asking for directions, which bus yeah, and things like that.
All right, that's great.
But I would just add that it's a lot of work. Pretty much, language learning really depends on how much effort you put in and the resources that you're using. Yes, the teachers do provide great guidance, but you also need to put in a lot of work by yourself, looking at material, whether it's on YouTube. Everybody has a different learning style and learning capacity. Some people do well with audio or video. Some people do better with reading. So it's really up to you to look for the material that works for you and to immerse yourself in that. And to, yeah, just start at the level that you're at. Don't try to consume content that is too advanced because you then get demotivated. So even if you have to watch cartoons, you can start from there, or primary school books or creche books, and then build your way up slowly.
All right, thank you for that, Natasha. I guess apart from the language barrier, what other challenges did you face, considering the fact that you are coming from Zimbabwe and you know our country, what it's like, what people are like, and then going into an environment like Germany, especially the work environment, were there any challenges that you faced, or were there any particular differences that you noted that, okay, the work ethic in Zimbabwe is like this, and then the work ethic in Germany is like this? Was there something you noticed, something you think is worth mentioning and informing people on?
I would just say that people have different experiences. My main thing throughout my stay was that the language plays a factor everywhere. So if you don't really speak the language well, even when it comes to integrating with people who speak German, it becomes a bit difficult. And sometimes it can appear that they're being standoffish, but it's really that they can't speak. If you can't speak the language and they don't speak English well, then you don't really have a way to communicate with each other. And some of them, they do try to make an effort, but I think every language learner has had the experience where you don't feel confident speaking a language that you're not so comfortable in because you're very aware of the mistakes that you're making. So English is like that for some of them. So they don't really want to try English because they can't speak it well as well. And so, yeah, it's like, since you're there, you then have to learn German. So I would say that, as with any culture, there were some intercultural differences. I would just say that you need to take, obviously, all of these with a pinch of salt. As I mentioned before, we had an international management training as part of our course, where we also had got to appreciate the differences in culture. But you also, and I mean online as well, you see a lot of things about what Germans are like. Personally, in the work environment I was in, I was working with an international team, and I did interact as well with people from Germany, from the local office as well. But I got to speak English as well, since it was an international office. I would just say that, you know, they're not as unfriendly as people say. I think they get a lot of rap about being unfriendly, or it being difficult to integrate. There are differences in culture, but to a large extent, I would say, yes, the language plays a major part in that. So sometimes it can be difficult to determine whether the response you're getting is because of maybe your race, or because, you know, when you're there, because Black people are in the minority, sometimes you're quick to say, oh, this person is treating me like this because I'm Black, or something like that. But sometimes it's just because that's just how they are. And yeah, it's not necessarily to do with your race.
You're absolutely right about that. If there's one thing I know about Germans, is that they have a they're different from us Zimbabweans in terms of, for us Zimbabweans, we like being involved, we like being part of a community, and we thrive with that. Whereas Germans have a more like a, if it's not your business, don't bother yourself with it. And you shouldn't expect a German to be bothered by your business. So it's one of those to each his own kind of thing. And I suppose for someone coming from an African background where we have to be part of a community, where we have to show respect to elders, where we have to basically talk to everyone to show them that we are here, we are listening, we're part of whatever is going on. In Germany, it's a bit different. If you have your thing that you're doing, do that and don't bother the next person with it. So that's very interesting that you also you notice that as well about the Germans. And no, sometimes it's not them being rude or being racist towards you, but that's just how they really are, the Germans. They're very conservative people and like to keep to themselves. So my next question to you will be, how would you compare Germany to Zimbabwe, basically? Like, what was your ultimate culture shock when you were in Germany? What was the thing that made you go, okay, this is very new?
Well, they're definitely more advanced than we are in a lot of respects. So, for example, transport, even the availability maybe of, let's say, Wi-Fi in accommodations. I think most apartments have Wi-Fi available. Yeah, so in terms of like
so you were shocked by Wi-Fi?
as I mentioned before. Sorry?
You were shocked by Wi-Fi?
No, I'm not saying I'm shocked, but the extent to which it's available for everyone. So yes, here it is available, but not like, I wouldn't say the percentages, I don't have them off by hand, but I think to a large extent in Zimbabwe it's available for those who are of middle to upper, but they're largely almost anyone. It's almost like a basic thing that will be offered. And everything works, I guess, I would say. One thing that was kind of like, okay, this isn't so great. So they are advanced and not advanced at the same time. So when you compare them, maybe let's say, I guess if you would say to your Japans or something like that, they do, so that they have a large majority of the older generation that is not very receptive to some of the technical advances that are happening. So you'll find that there's a lot of paper still being used. One of our banks that we had to subscribe to was, would say to us, okay, you'll get your password by post, or you'll get your login details by post. And, we were just thinking, why can't you just do this online? So some of the things we are actually, because I mean, even here, and I know some of my colleagues as well were saying, this process is too long or too involved. So that is one thing that people say about Germans, and that we did notice, was that their processes, there are a lot of processes for a lot of things and a lot of paperwork. Yeah, that's what I would say was a bit of a difference. Without going into much details, I think everybody knows what works and what doesn't. I would say though that I still do love Zimbabwe and my community here as well. So it's not that everything is great there and everything is bad here. No, we do have a lot of things going for us, and it's not like, yeah, that's heaven and we're hell or something like that. It's not that at all. Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you for that. I guess my next question for you is, do you think people should apply for Africa COMPT? Yeah, it's a really good opportunity for a lot of people.
Yes, I would say it is a good opportunity, especially when you're at the early age of your career. If you're more advanced, maybe not so much. But in terms of just going and seeing, so as I mentioned before, I was working with Robert Bosch, which is, last I checked, about a $77 billion company. I'm not sure what it was this year, but
Bosch is
around those
that
figures.
does the electronics, right? Like Bosch,
Sorry?
do electronics and things like that? I've seen Bosch somewhere.
Yes, so they have household. Yeah, so they're household goods, they're automotive products, and so on and so forth. I was in the power tools division, and so yeah, there's gardening as well, home and garden. So they have a wide range of products, but being an international company with offices pretty much on every continent, their way of doing business is very different to what I had experienced here, mostly because our companies are much smaller here, and in terms of the money that you're handling, the people that you're dealing with, it's on a much smaller scale. So you get to appreciate the processes and systems needed to operate on such a large scale in a wide range of business services, yeah, and to be successful at it. And also the way of working. So in here, there's a lot of emphasis on respect for your elders or your bosses in the workplace, or deferring to them. In Germany, really, there's a big push for you to provide solutions and to be empowered to do your work without always having to ask your boss for authority or your boss for this. You know, you really have to kind of, like you mentioned before, find your way, do your work and finish without, yeah, necessarily asking for permission or signature or this. Yeah. So, but yeah, in short, I would say in terms of that, it's a very great experience because the exposure and learning how different people do life is always good.
Always a plus,
you know how you do things, and getting to appreciate, you might not agree with it, but also just understanding a different perspective. You always have things that you learn from, and then that you can also improve in the way you're doing, whether it is your personal life or if you are an entrepreneur, how you can improve your business as well. Yeah. It's also a great opportunity to network, to find people in your industry and grow your business if you're an entrepreneur.
All right, thank you, Natasha. Just a couple of more questions, just 1, 2, 3 more questions. When you were in Germany, how did you basically overcome homesickness? Or maybe you didn't overcome it at all, but what was that experience like for you on homesickness, and what did you do to make it a little bit easier for you while you were there?
So I didn't have a big problem with homesickness because I had previous experiences where I had to be away from home a lot. So it wasn't something that was completely new to me. But now in the age of tech, you know, you have your Skypes, your WhatsApps, where you can keep in touch with people. And as I mentioned before, the program I was on, we were 48 people from about 11, I think, different African countries. So that also meant that we had a community as well, that we could always lean on. And where I was staying, the particular apartment block I was in, there were 5 of us, from, I think, yeah, 4 different African countries. There was a lady from Malawi, someone from Ivory Coast, and someone from Kenya. So that also provides kind of, because, you know, in African countries, we always make jokes about this, but we understand each other. So even though they might not have been from Zimbabwe, but still, we understood some of the things that being an African entails. So that also helped a lot. Yes, I would say as well, if you don't have that, integrate into a particular community. So I also was part of a church. That also helps, because if you just go whether you're working or studying, go wherever you're going and then come back, it can get pretty lonely. So depending on the activities that you like, join part of a gym. They have, I'm forgetting the name for it right now, but they have a lot of communities that they have for different activities. And you can look for one that's close to you and join one, yeah, to help you integrate into the community as well.
All right, thank you so much for that. Last question, what advice would you give to anyone who wants to try out going to Germany, whether it's for work or studying purposes or just simply traveling?
I would say, well, if it's for traveling, I mean, I think if you have your money and your visa, then you're good to go. If it's for work or studying, I would just say you just need to put in the work. I think whatever decision you take or that you make, you need to put in the work, whether it's for language learning or whether it's the work once you get there, integrating into the community. I would say make the decision and then put in the work, because if you kind of make a half-hearted decision and then you are kind of learning the language, but not really, you're sort of working, but not really, you're exploring, you know, here we like to explore different things. We like to have our fingers in a lot of different pies, and that can spread you a little thin sometimes. And then you don't have enough time to focus on something and then really do your best. Because usually if you put in the work and you do your best at something, you will reap the rewards for that. So that's what I would say. I think we lost video.
I'm sorry, I'm back. Thank you so much for that. We're still waiting for one of our guests who is an au pair student, was an au pair student at ZGS, and she traveled to Germany, but she doesn't seem to be available online. But that doesn't matter, the show must go on. So I will take this time for Cleopas. Cleopas is currently a student at ZGS, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, so I just wanted to find out a few things from you. Basically, what brought you to ZGS? What brought you to ZGS? What are the reasons as to why you're learning German currently?
Okay, well, I graduated from high school last year. So my aim with the German language is to use it for study in an undergrad.
What do you want to study?
Okay, well, I'm still torn between a few options. I'm thinking probably industrial engineering, or I'll go like Natasha, I'll do a bit of IT or computer science. So at this point, I still have a window where I can still choose whilst I'm pursuing the language.
All right. That's great. So, can you tell us 3 things you like about ZGS?
Yeah, definitely. The first thing I like about ZGS is the environment in which the learners are. Um, if there's one thing that I appreciate about the setup is that the classes are quite small. So there's a lot of attention really that you get in and help. You get it fast. If you need help, if you're lagging behind, it's so easy for the tutors to help you and to pick that there's need for extra help. Um, for me, that was a big plus, and I was really impressed. And then a second thing that I really like is the fact that there are a lot of opportunities for students to engage and interact with the language. For example, the Cafe Deutsch session where you just come and talk. It's really nice because really languages are meant to be spoken anyway. So why learn a language and keep quiet? So if I found that really useful as part of the curriculum. And then thirdly, the help that students can get in terms of pursuing even scholarships. And I mean, there's so much detailed information you get from ZGS especially for study, whether it's master's or undergrad. There's a lot of links, newsletters, and access to the library. So oh, that's basically everything. I don't know if I've left anything, but it's literally everything about ZGS. I think those are the core areas I would pinpoint to say these are tip top.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you're enjoying your education at the Zimbabwe German Society. So, what are your plans now? Are you going to keep learning Germany up to C1, C2 level, maybe?
Yes, I'm planning even a doctorate and become a lecturer because the language is interesting, really. But for now, from A1, I'm definitely moving on to A2 as soon as possible.
All right.
Yeah.
What inspired you, though, to pick Germany as your preferred destination? Because there's a lot of other countries out there that offer great universities, great educations, and you don't even have to bother with learning their languages because they actually use English in most countries. So why Germany, where you actually have to go through this? Learning the language and then also trying to understand their culture and everything like that. Why Germany?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, Germany for me, I picked it because, well, I'm thinking of venturing into engineering, and I think at this point it's just a fact that German engineering is among the best in the world, anyway. So Germany has to be part of the places to consider. And having said that, I feel that I want Germany because of the type of culture that we've seen in the engineering discipline. I mean, we talk of flagships like Mercedes-Benz and VW. You know, these are high class cars, and even if you enter into one of them, you feel that there's so much thoughtful process that has been given in the process of creating this car. And it's not just the cars. I'm just using an example. There's so much. You talk of medical, equipment like Siemens. These guys, big guys, doing good things. So that inspiration, or seeing that, actually drove me towards Germany. And of course, there's a price to pay. You need to learn the language, but I'm down for it.
That's very inspiring. Well, we wish you all the best of luck. I'm sure you're going to be a great engineer sometime. Make sure that you mention us when you're now creating your own car brand. And just remember, Tsunki, she needs a car from Germany. So you can always, keep in touch with us. But that's very inspiring. I actually thought that maybe one of your reasons why you would have applied to Germany, or why you want to apply to Germany, is because they are universities. Most of their universities are tuition free, especially if it's a public university. So if you have the language, at least up to B1 level, you can actually apply to go to university in Germany where you don't have to pay the school fees. The only thing you probably have to worry about is just the accommodation and everything else. But a lot of people do prefer to go to Germany because of the free education. And universities are kind of expensive if you try to think about it. So Germany being that one country that's open to foreigners, and they really want foreigners. And that's why they have all these opportunities laid out for any young individuals that want a taste of something new, a taste of a different experience in living in a country. You can do volunteer work, social years, Ausbildungs, go to the university, and if you want to be a nurse, even better. There are a lot of opportunities available for young people. So I guess I would encourage, I hope some of your classmates have joined this meeting and they are seeing from you that indeed learning the German language has its advantages. And of course, not forgetting being an au pair. So thank you so much for that. Do you have any advice that you'd like to give other youths your age out there who would want to basically try to find inspiration as well? It doesn't necessarily have to do with learning the German language, but basically the drive that you have at such a young age to already decide that this is what I want to do with my life. Would you have any advice that you'd like to give others out there still looking for things to do?
Well, yeah, maybe just a few words. I would say there's not much time to make a decision in life generally. Yeah, so at this age, whoever or whatever we decide to do as youths, we need to take action immediately. We decide and then we take action, because wishful thinking will remain wishful thinking. You could die with a dream, die with a vision, but as long as you put it into action, you execute, you design your days to add value, then you cannot go wrong. And it's time. Now is the time. Whilst the world is locked down, we need to be pumping and making sure that when everything booms back, we're booming with it. Yeah, I think that's all.
All right, thank you so much for that, Cleopas. So unfortunately, I don't think Judith from Germany is going to be joining us today. She is the au pair who is going to give her own testimonial on her experience in Germany as being an au pair. For those of you that are not aware what an au pair is, well, the au pair course is a cultural exchange program where the student gets to go to Germany for a year. They live with a host family and they're essentially like a big sister or big brother in that family. So the aim of being an au pair is for you to gain more experience of what it's like to be in Germany and to also kind of get the feel of what their culture is like. So it's for those between the ages 18 and 25. And while you're still thinking about what you want to do with your future or with your career, this is a great opportunity for you to get to travel and to do something different and just gain experience. I'm going to leave this floor to our guests that are here, the guys that are here. If you guys have any questions, could you kindly put a reaction like this one if you have a question, and then I can unmute you from here or ask you to unmute so that you can ask your question. Thank you. Any questions, anyone? You can ask anything. There's no wrong answers.
maybe while people are thinking, I would just like to tell Kloppers that I was in Stuttgart, and so they have the Mercedes-Benz Museum there and the Porsche Museum as well. So you get to really see from when you know, Carl Benz was born, Daimler, Maybach, and then kind of the journey to where they are now, from the first engine and all the cars and what was happening in the world then. So that's also quite nice. And I also got to interact with a lot of people as well who are studying and working. They have a great program for students to work in, you know, established companies. So, you know, you meet people interning at Daimler and all these other, you know, Porsche, all these other big and nice companies. So in terms of that, it is definitely a good experience, because practical experience I think is a very important thing for graduates or people who are studying, because when you're looking for a job, they all want experience. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Natasha. We'll ask again, going once, going twice. Are there any questions? It can be about anything. It can be even about au pair. Even though we didn't manage to connect to our guest, I'm sure I'll be able to answer any questions that you might have about basically what life in Germany is like, or if there are any tips that you need, or anything you might need a heads up on when it comes to living in Germany. So yeah, I'll just open the floor again. Like I said before, if you have a question, just kindly put this reaction on your status, and then I can unmute you from the side and you can go ahead and ask your question. Well, okay, I don't think we have any questions for this session. I would just like to take this time to thank our invited guests. Sorry?
There's a question in the chat from Sarah.
From
Sarah.
Oh, from Sharon. Oh, thank you for that. Sarah, hi. So Sarah is asking, which level should I end if I want to be an au pair? All right, to answer your question, Sharon, is for au pair level, au pair is available for either A1 or A2. However, the embassy seems to prefer those that are at least A2 level. Basically, the higher your language level, the more opportunities you have, or the more likely the embassy would want to pick you to become an au pair. But if your German speaking is good, even at A1 level, you can even qualify to become an au pair. And yeah, that's about it, about the level if you want to be an au pair. I hope I've answered your question. Do we have any other questions? If you can't speak, you can always use the chat box to type in your questions and we can answer them for you. Yeah, is that it? You're welcome, Sarah. I suppose that's it. I don't think anyone else has any questions. I guess I can take this time to thank our invited guests. Thank you, Cleopas, and thank you, Natasha, for joining us today. Very unfortunate that we didn't manage to speak to an au pair who's currently in Germany, so she can give us. Oh, Sarah has another question. All right, Sarah, go ahead. You can ask your second question. Sarah, are you still there? Are you still typing a question?
Yeah, I'm typing.
Oh, well, but we can hear you just fine. You can always just ask.
All right. Okay, my question is, so I want to ask, is it safe to go to Germany through au pair?
Is it safe?
Like, yeah, is there no human trafficking? Like,
That's a very good question you've asked. And the beauty of doing au pair, especially with us as ZGS, we have accredited au pair organizations that are recognized all over the world and in Germany that we work with. We just don't randomly look for families to join with our students. We actually have an agency, two agencies that we work with that vet and screen the people that want au pairs. So you can definitely believe that when you're an au pair, especially from ZGS, you will be placed in a safe family. There aren't any chances of you being trafficked because the agencies that we work with make sure that they vet, and we haven't received any complaints so far. Everyone that we have facilitated in going to Germany through au pair has gone there safe and soundly, come back to Zimbabwe, or stayed there in Germany doing other things, but you would definitely be safe. The only problem is if you try to look for your own families, or if you try to look for someone out there to find your family, then we won't have a way to track you. At least if you go do au pair through us and through our agencies, we can track you, we can keep in touch with you, and if you have any problems, we can then come to your rescue or find someone that can come to your rescue. So I would advise making sure that the agencies that you look for or the organizations that you use for this au pair thing, they come from ZGS and they are accredited and well known. All right, I'm just going to switch to.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're very much welcome. Let me see if we have some questions on Facebook. Then I can answer some of these questions that are on Facebook. All right, so please forgive me, but I'm going to have to mute myself for a second so that I can answer these questions on Facebook. All right, I'm back. So we have some questions here. We have Mutawashe, who's asking if there's a way that she can learn the language from Cyprus. I wouldn't know, but if there is a Goethe Institute there in Cyprus, then you will be able to register for their courses. But then also, because of this new digital age that we're in, you can even apply to learn the German language with us because we have online classes. I'm sure Cleopas can be a testament to that. Were you part of our online classes, Cleopas? Hello, Cleopas?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, I experienced both. We had the first about 5 weeks physically before the lockdown, and then the last 4 weeks they were virtual. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Cleopas. So yes, Muta, if there isn't a Goethe Institute in Cyprus or any other language school that teach the German language, You can always try to find other means of learning the language. I'm sure even Goethe Institute in Johannesburg offers online lessons. In fact, most of the Goethe Institutes around the world are facilitated in offering online lessons. So you can always learn the language digitally if you can't find a class to go to. Are there any more questions? Remember, if you're watching us from Facebook, you can always type your questions on Facebook. If you're watching us from our Zoom room, you can always type questions there as well.
Hello, Tsungi.
Yes.
I wanted to ask on the agents, are we going to pay them or so that they will look the host family for me?
No, you don't have to pay the agencies again because they work through us. So your all-pay fees for those agencies is covered by the school fees that you pay here at ZGS. So you don't then have to go to the agencies again to do. The whole point of the all-pay course at the Zimbabwe German Society is half learning about the culture in Germany and half the application process that then leads you to becoming an au pair.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Rainbow. Are there any more questions? Anything at all? All right, I guess this is our time for today. Be sure to tune in for tomorrow. We're going to have a Cafe Deutsch session with Polite and some invited guests. It's going to be fun. There's going to be coffee and cake. So I hope you come through. And then also on day 4, you can listen to us on Heart and Soul Radio. That's on Facebook. We will have representatives from the DAAD, which is like an organization that gives scholarships to students to go study in Germany. So if you want more information on scholarships and how you can qualify for one, please tune in on Thursday to the Heart and Soul radio station that's found on Facebook. I'm sure it's HSTV, or you can also come through to our Facebook page because we'll be cross-posting on our page as well. So you'll be able to watch us from there. It will be a great event. You learn lots of stuff. And then of course on Friday, we have a live entertainment session. We're going to have Vera and Emmanuel Makanza in the building performing for us. So it's something worth watching. It will be available on our Facebook Live. And of course, all of these videos and all of these conversations we've had, they're going to be available on our YouTube page. So thank you so much for everyone for coming through. And remember, if you still have any questions or any queries that you need help with, you can always contact us. We are always available to help on our WhatsApp, on our email, or you can call us. So I'll take this time to say thank you very much to Natasha, thank you very much to Cleopas, and thank you very much to everyone else that participated. And as we say in German, Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Thank you so much, guys.